Hi everyone. So one of the questions that comes up quite often actually to me on the YouTube channel, but also just in general as well, is how do you get into historical European martial arts if you're not necessarily close to a historical European martial arts or historical fencing school? Well, the first thing I would say, my first advice to anyone getting into it, is if you possibly can, get to an established school or an established teacher. Even if you can't get there every week, if you can't get there every month, try to get there maybe once every 2 months or once every 6 months or once a year, but try and get some exposure to an established teacher. One of the great things about the historical fencing or HEMA community is that we have all of these sources online, and basically anybody can go and get their grubby hands on these original sources that are being scanned or translated or transcribed and put online for free, or are being sold through Amazon or other publishers. And they can get these original sources from the horse's mouth, and they can study the original sources for themselves. And this is what I did and a lot of other people did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the HEMA movement, the modern HEMA movement, was really starting. But you can save yourself a lot of time and effort, if you possibly can, by getting exposure to an established school or established teacher, because there are a lot of basic fundamental things which are very difficult to glean for yourself from the original sources if you don't have a basis in first-hand teaching from someone with experience. So basic things about body mechanics, how to move, how distance, tempo, how to breathe even, just how a weapon moves around. And it helps looking at YouTube videos and DVDs, other resources. But if you can get to a teacher, that's the absolute best thing you can do. And even if you can't do it regularly, try and do it every now and again. And building on that piece of advice, bear in mind there are large events all around the world, and many events are annual these days, and there's you could literally go, I believe you could go to a different historical fencing event every month of the year if you really wanted to and could afford to and had the time to. And at these events you get exposure to lots of different systems, lots of different weapons, lots of different teachers, and at these events the teachers that you get exposure to are generally pretty experienced teachers. They've taught for usually a fair amount of time to lots of different students in lots of different places. So even if there's no way you can get to a school even semi-regularly, try and get to an event a couple of times a year, and then at least if you're studying for yourself directly from the sources or from online resources, or maybe you and a friend or you and a small group and starting a new group, setting up, at least getting exposure to the really experienced people will hopefully pay great dividends and be really advantageous to you. So try as much as possible to not be isolated. There's a great resource of experience and expertise in the HEMA world now, so draw on that as much as you can. Okay? And also think about trying to gain experience also in perhaps related things. If you're studying small sword or rapier or even sabre or these kind of later period weapons, maybe do a little bit of sport sabre fencing on the side. You can gain some great experience and little things that are really useful, fundamental things that you can apply to historical fencing from there. Or if you're doing a grappling art, maybe think about doing jiu-jitsu or judo on the side, or catch wrestling or something like this. And equally, if you're looking at a long sword, then if you can, maybe if there's a kenjutsu school nearby, it can't harm to try these other arts as well. You don't have to necessarily dedicate huge amounts of time to them, but anything you can draw in from people who have experience in their respective arts will prove beneficial to you. Thanks.